Good evening. How are you? I'm doing a sit and talk because I had to work late into the office to handle a case. And so I lost the sunlight. And tomorrow it's Saturday. I hope to do better. There are a couple of things that present themselves that I think that are worthy of mention. And I think they signal a weakness in the Republican entourage, both as to personnel and as to ideology. So let's take ideology first. The government requires authorization to go forward, spending bills. And often there's a last minute compromise and they pass a continuing resolution to another date when they're going to deal with the problem and get a spending bill that everybody can agree to or compromise sufficiently so that there's a bill for the government to continue. We did brinkmanship as usual, and there was a real fear if we didn't get our act together before midnight passed away that the government would have to shut down with all the dangers that that means to the people. There were three different bills. Speaker Johnson, who heads the Republican caucus, couldn't get control of his people. And so the first bill that was introduced required the support of Democrats in addition to Republicans to pass. But there was a campaign by Elon Musk to kill that bill so strongly that he wrote to people and said all manner of stuff and said that they should fire any Republican who not elect him for any Republican who would support that first bill. And they claimed the Democrats were pulling the wool over their eyes so that they couldn't appreciate that what they were doing was wrong. And this went on and on. Now, Elon Musk, who led this charge and who is a close presidential buddy, if you will, he I guess persuaded Trump, who couldn't afford to stay out of the action, to pick up and agree with him, as was the case with Vance, the elected vice president. Now, the first bill failed because of this campaign. So in other words, a better bill was killed because Trump wanted the government to close down, if it closed down at all, while Biden was still president. You can't make this up, and you can read 100 other people who will tell you the same thing. And it should be obvious to anyone. In fact, he said aloud that he wanted this on Biden's watch, that the government would close down. So then there was a second bill proposed, and that one didn't make it either. And the third one was proposed on Friday, and that bill passed because it was, I wouldn't say bare bones, because in 1,500 pages of legislation, there's a lot going on, and we can't do justice to it. There are a lot of things that belong in the bill and are in the bill, and there are other things that belong in the bill that didn't make it. But when the dust settled, we had in Congress a bill that the Senate, as I speak this, expects will pass there, and so the government will not close down. Cognitive association is cognitive dissonance, excuse me. Cognitive dissonance is having two separate ideas that conflict with each other, and they're held at the same time in one's mind and experience. And the question is, can you function? Now, you would think it would be an impasse, and for many it is. And for the third party observing somebody in cognitive association, it's fair to conclude that there's something wrong with that person. So what's the cognitive association, cognitive dissonance here that we're talking about? The cognitive dissonance is that we have a history of Republicans objecting to increases in the debt limit so that we could borrow and borrow and borrow. Then we would default, and then that would affect the world economic model, not to mention our own country. That's the argument that Republicans make. But Trump wants to eliminate the debt limit. He changed his position in recent days after Musk did his demonstration. And so why would he want to do that? He wants to do that so he can give tax breaks to the wealthy, exceed the debt limit when he does it. Now, the conservative Republicans want to see, for any increase in the debt limit, an offset in terms of reduced spending. You can see the tension there. And the Democrats argue about what things they think are worth spending, and the Republicans, as hostages to the capitalistic brothers and sisters that support them, they want to. Some of them want to be able to have those tax cuts, but they don't want to increase the debt ceiling. Okay, so that's that problem, and it's entirely in the Republican Party because they're not in control now. They passed the bill this evening with Democratic support, every one of them. There were 48 Republicans who voted against the first bill, the one that Elon Musk, so it goes on and on. You get an idea of it. Now, okay, so the first cognitive dissociation that suggests that the Republicans no longer have an ideology one can identify and understand. They're split within their ranks. Now, that's not good for the White House. It's not good for the Senate. It's probably not good for the government. But that's where this recent election got us. Now, what else are we looking at? What else causes cognitive dissonance? Well, not you and I, but some people did elect this guy, Trump. And so he is the president-elect. However, there is this guy, Elon Musk, running around who appears at meetings and with Trump all the time, and he took this on his own, apparently without any conversation with Trump, and you think that would be relevant, but I suppose his non-cabinet office status as a person who's going to deal with waste and efficiency led him to believe, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here, and that's a lot, led him to believe, I got to tell these guys, they can't do this, they can't have these things, this violates what I think should be done. And then after he laid the groundwork, Trump, I think, not to be upstaged is perfect when you're talking about a guy who's a show horse, not a workhorse. So Trump now has been upstaged, and Vance just goes along for the ride. Now, Musk was an interloper at a meeting that Trump was going to have with Jeff Bezos at his place down in Florida. So that's one thing. So you have him manhandling the Speaker of the House, Johnson, in his own party, who is holding on by his chinny chin chin as Speaker, and he may be voted out the first of the year when they take their vote, the Republicans that is, and some other Speaker may be there, maybe Green. Some have proposed that Musk himself, you don't have to be a member of the Senate, of the House, by the way, in order to be its Speaker. I think that's a joke. And one of the persons who said that was Congresswoman Green. And I think if Johnson was weak enough and she thought she could put together a group that agreed in the Republican caucus, she'd try to be Speaker. That's how crazy and bad this is. But Musk did a couple of other things. Musk not only was an interloper, not only did this, but he also is supporting, literally supporting a neo-Nazi party that's running for office in Germany. And it's called the Alternative for Germany, the AF, I don't know if it goes AFG or AFD, because it's in German, but that's what it's called. So what do we have? We have a dissonance in the ideology of the Republican Party, splitting the Republicans themselves, requiring them to use Democratic votes to pass any important bill. And then we have a disagreement between Trump and Musk as to who really is the leader. And there have been jokes, but they're not funny. They're jokes about President Musk and his assistant, his buddy. So what are we to make of it as the loyal opposition? And the answer is, we don't have to do any of this, but we have to comment on it. We have to fight it. We have to stand back and not vote for some things, and in the House in particular, and come forward and lead as we can. I'm not saying anything is possible, but I do think that the honeymoon period is over with Trump, no matter how much he comes out and BS's us otherwise. That he has, I'm trying to be polite here, he has a companion who has his own mind and his own wealth. And if anything, I think Trump is probably jealous of a real billionaire as compared to his bullshit story about the wealth and stuff he has. Also, if there's another difference in terms of technique, there's no question that Musk, he gets down into the details and he does things, whereas Trump wants the job. He wants others to give him documents to sign, and he likes to give speeches and be seen. It's sort of like a branding presidency versus the shadow presidency of Musk. These weaknesses, at worst, are our political playground to see that this bastard can't hurt America. Now, it's going to take sweat, it's going to take tears, it's going to take some tough fighting, but in the end, we can prevent this guy from being a dictator because he doesn't know how to go about it. And in my own mind, and we'll find out in the weeks ahead, I don't think this guy could run a small newsstand, much less the presidency, without fear and coercion. Musk is not going to be subject to that. There's an old saying about, I'd rather have my enemies inside the tent pissing out than outside pissing in. Musk is one of those guys that could take on the president. I mean, if he chooses to, the president-elect. So that's what I have for this evening. I think we watch this spot, see what happens. I think that the Republicans will do themselves in. Now, this is a pattern that does follow. When the White House secures the House and the Senate, when all three are of the same party, there's the greatest amount of differences and need to meet and solve these problems. In other words, to function. Cognitive dissonance implies function is a difficulty. And we've seen it brilliantly, because it challenges the House Speaker, it challenges how we go forward to run the government, it challenges who is going to run the government. So I'm always glad to see chaos and inside backbiting and that kind of thing when the agenda of my opponent is deathly and terribly dangerous to the republic and to our democracy. So that's what I got. Good evening, good to talk to you, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, hopefully on the road. Bye-bye.